The Game, the podcast, back live here on the National Soccer Network, episode 280. Nate Wangler and Ryan Glinsky. We got a packed show for you guys here today. A lot to talk about in the soccer portion and a little bit of all sports at the end, but today is going to be a pretty soccer-heavy show, all things considered. But two different guests will be joining us today. Joel Nash will be the first of which will be stopping on with a senior vice president with the United Soccer League with USL2 and USLW. Obviously, a new partnership here on the National Soccer Network with those leagues, and so we'll be bringing you that action all summer long. So we'll get to talk to Joel. What's going on with the USL. We'll also get Neil Rule into our studios as well. That's someone that I think people around here probably know a little bit better. Obviously, fill-in radio for the Detroit Pistons, works at Oakland University, but most notably today we're going to talk about his history in the USL and broadcasting that league and his expectations for what this summer is going to be. So a couple of really good conversations coming up there, Ryan, and one more for the week, but a couple of really good convos coming up.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, the USL2 season starts up this Sunday, May 3rd. There's going to be a game, maybe a couple of games. Haven't quite looked exactly at who's going to be playing. But no, excited to get the season rocking and rolling. It's going to be a fun summer, and it's going to be jam-packed, especially here at the National Soccer Network. We got some great teams. Eventually, I'm sure you will see some of those coaches, owners, or maybe some players on this podcast throughout the summer. It's going to be a jam-packed summer here, obviously, with the World Cup going on. But no, I'm very excited for, the great conversations with Neil and Joel.
Yeah, no, just really give us a look into what exactly is, going on inside the USL. Neil with a lot of history in terms of the broadcasting side of things. But before we get into everything in our first hour conversation, wanted to talk about Man City and Arsenal a little bit here in hour number one. But first, they're going through it over at Tottenham. Our good Scottish friend Dave actually had one of the funniest tweets we've seen. And I don't know if you can pull that one up, Ryan, but Tottenham, yeah, there we go, is trying to make their fans feel better by a new partnership with Peppa Pig. And there's a look at some of the new team merch. So you got the bucket hat on the right there with Peppa Pig and the Tottenham logo in the middle. And then on the left, you got some other merch. So, yeah, go go online and get your Peppa Pig Tottenham merch as you guys get ready to celebrate relegation down a level if you can't straighten things out. So, oh my goodness. I think I wheeze laughed for about a minute long when you put this up on the screen initially. Good catch by Dave. Seeing this one, this is crazy, man. I've seen some of the videos and some of the reactions to it, but man, I'll say this: if the Pistons were to finish last, or if they were to win like 9 games in a year like they did, and then the next thing they did was come up with a partnership with like Hello Kitty, and there were like Hello Kitty Pistons gear out there, I'd be like,
With
man,
this
organization
organization that's always popping out to Detroit
oh
games.
yeah, oh yeah.
Dave's in our chat already. He says afternoon all, happy Friday. Yeah, you gave us a good chuckle this morning here, Dave. I know it's probably like 2 o'clock around where you are, but we're still in the AM here. But yeah, no, this was an unbelievable tweet that you sent me. And if there's anyone else that's listening onto the show, you can at me or Nate on Twitter. We'll put your tweets up on the show. But this is great, not only because I'm an Arsenal fan and all that fun stuff, but it's great because like certain teams just continue to do the stupid things that no other team tends to do. Like this is something that Michigan State would do. Like this. What's up, Fabian? How are you? But this is just something that a team like Michigan State would do. Maybe you see something like Ohio State would have done. After Ryan Day lost to a game to Michigan. Honestly, this is something that Michigan would have done, like in the Jim Harbaugh early years. But no, this is just awesome, and you just love that teams that continue to struggle do stupid things like this, guys. As the what is his name? Wheelie is his name. He goes, lads, we are on the brink of relegation, and you guys are more focused on a Peppa Pig collaboration. Obviously, we know that the marketing team and the first team, that's something completely different. But man, I love this just because it's also an arch rival.
And I understand trying to cheer your fan base up, trying to cheer the supporters up after what's been a rough year, but no other way to really show that you're out of touch with your fan base than to come out with a Peppa Pig collaboration that clearly nobody likes from the response that we've seen on social media and the responses that I've seen so far. I got to dive into some of those videos. We're probably going to make one of our own talking about this partnership. But yeah, this is, like I said, good idea in trying to cheer people up a little bit. But maybe Peppa Pig wasn't the go-to for this one. I don't
It
know. I mean, I wouldn't expect the Tigers to come out with Bluey and Bingo merch, but maybe I'm wrong.
They probably would, but I'm looking at some of the creators of Peppa Pig: Neville Astley, Mark Baker, Phil Davis. It doesn't
You
say
know
what
what this
team they
is?
root. It doesn't say what team they root for, but they
This
have.
is a
They are. It is a British collaborator, or they are British Brits. So it makes sense
I'd
that
s-
maybe they would collaborate with an English team.
I would say this. This would be perfect for minor league baseball.
Well,
This
would
would be great for like the Ashboro, trash can ballers or whatever, like to get a Peppa Pig collaboration. That's cool. Like I talked about Bluey and Bingo, like we got them coming to the ballpark next week. Hey, we got Bluey and Bingo jerseys. Like that's perfect. That's minor league baseball,
do
but not Tottenham Hotspur.
you,
Like that's like, come on.
when I did a summer with the Lansing Lugnuts, they wore jerseys like designed by the kids. Do you guys do that too?
I don't not
Like they wore for a
designed
whole
by the
series at
kids,
home. They
really.
wore
That's pretty
jerseys
cool.
designed by the kids.
Oh, no, we haven't, not since I've been there. I mean, we have a billion different uniform combinations. We have like a Beer City uniform, which is cool, obviously, because we're Beer City, USA. We got some other alter egos. I think we're doing the Michigan Snowbirds this summer, which is like people who come up and vacation and then go back to wherever the hell they're from afterwards. So I've seen a lot of cool, but nothing. It's a brilliant idea from Lansing. I like that. Designed by the kids.
Yeah, it looks
Be
great.
interested to see what
I'm s-
those interested to
the
see what
letter
those look
the way the
like.
letters are drawn are awesome.
Let's get into our first conversation though here in hour number one. Again, Neil Rule and Joel Nash, that is. My apologies. Will be joining us here on the show coming up a little bit later. But main question we have coming into the show, I know we have the question of the day at the very end, but I'm interested to hear what you have to say, Ryan. Who has the harder run, Man City or Arsenal?
Oh, you obviously know what I'm gonna say, but no, being completely unbiased in everything. I mean, Fulham bottom half, West Ham bottom half, Burnley bottom half, Crystal Palace bottom half. Then I look at the other side for Man City. Everton's not that bad of a team. People don't give them a ton of credit. I know they play
Yeah.
on Monday. Brentford, if you were to again, I've never really liked a stat typically like this because it's typically associated with our Detroit teams. But Brentford, if you strictly played the second half of the season, Brentford would have been in a Champions League spot. I don't like stats
Mm.
like that because, like, obviously you got to have the full season of body work.
Mm-hmm.
But then Crystal Palace, Bournemouth, who their manager might be going to Manchester United this summer. I know we talked about them. And then Aston Villa, that's another good side. So I would say personally, Man City's got the harder running, just based on the teams that they've got to play. Aston Villa's a quality side, Brentford's a quality side, Everton's a quality side, and that's not to say that Crystal Palace, Burnley, who's already relegated, by the way, West Ham, who's currently fighting a relegation battle with our good
Yep.
friends Tottenham, that are big Peppa Pig supporters, and Fulham. Those sides are good, and a couple of those,
Mhm.
three of those teams are actually London-based clubs as well. So they want to take their crack at it. But if I'm being completely honest, and this isn't some Arsenal slappy either, Man City's got the harder running. The one thing that concerns me as an Arsenal fan is Aston Villa, because Aston Villa might not play some of their big players based on what they have going on in the Europa League. They might just say, well, you know what? We've already solidified our European place. I mean, depending on what happens, maybe they could play for Champions League football at the end of the season, but they're currently up on a Europa League against Nottingham Forest, of all people, believe it or not. Nottingham Forest and
Mhm.
Aston Villa are in the Europa League semifinals. That's not a typo. That's not a joke or anything. That's actually a real game. But that concerns me because there's been rumors where if they were to get into the Europa League final, they're not really going to play their players at the end of the season, yada yada yada. But no, that one concerns me. So I'm kind of a big Nottingham Forest just to make sure Aston Villa's not playing for the Europa League final and they don't rest their players. So I'm hoping
Mhm.
Nottingham Forest somehow gets into a Europa League final. Like, that's just crazy to me that a team of Nottingham Forest might end up in a Europa League final. But no, I would say right now, because even if you were to look at the points, obviously the points are like pretty much identical. The goal difference is pretty much identical. 37 or 73 points, 70 points, one game in hand City has, but the goal difference just one off. So goal difference is going to become big towards the end of the year. But yeah, no, I would personally say right now that our Man City has the tougher run-in.
Yeah, and I mean, just from a sheer load perspective, and how many games? What they have six, I think six matches in the last 24 days of the season.
Yeah,
So
and then we already got Pep
that's
Guardiola complaining about all that because he's dumb and
yeah.
like so.
I mean,
Real quick, you kind of brought me up on like a little bit of a rant here, guys. Pep, you're not above everyone else. I get it. You break so many illegal rules and everything, but you can't force the league to play your
yeah,
game against Aston Villa, final game of the season, not on
yeah,
Championship Sunday. I'm just saying you can't have that. So
yeah.
whine and complain all you want about that, but you can't do that.
Mhm.
And Pep Guardiola has been one of those people that is always mad about the fixture load and when the games happen. Pep, you already have 119 charges. You might as well just play the game that's on the final day. Like that's
Yeah,
normal schedule. God, I
yeah.
hate him
So
sometimes.
But, so load, I mean, the fact that they have to go on the road to a couple of places that are really hard to play in. Goodison Park for Everton is a tough place to play. Stamford Bridge, Chelsea is a really hard place to play. So, when you consider on the other side for Arsenal, not just the remaining opponents, mostly in the bottom half, but you think of, three of their final four games are going to be at the Emirates, and they've been really good at home this year. And so, in terms of not only the talent that they're facing, and you might have an argument that maybe some of the guys, Aston Villa might not play their best players, but in terms of volume, in terms of road wear and tear, and having to go on the road more often to harder places to play, I would say that Arsenal probably has the easier path. The other thing is that they can kind of dump 100% of their energy and focus into focusing on getting the Premier League now, because obviously being knocked out of the Champions League, now that allows you to kind of refocus and put everything you have into one basket. And so it feels like again, in one way or another, feels like it's kind of paved the way for Arsenal the rest of the way, because Man City does have a really difficult stretch, but they still have to play quality. They still have to get results.
Yeah.
And I think you have to win the games you're supposed to win, which if you're playing at home, again, in a place that you've been so good at against teams in the bottom half, it really seems like it's kind of set them up for this long-term success. So maybe they can capitalize on it.
I guess I was wrong, guys. Fulham is ahead of Everton by one spot, so they do have one team in the top half of the table, but they're separated by 1 point.
Yeah.
Fulham's in 10th, Everton's in 11th. My apologies on all that, which makes it even crazier that Nottingham Forest, who's down in 16th, could potentially play for Europa League final. I know that happened technically last year with United and Tottenham, but you look at Brentford, they're 9th, Everton in 11th, and then you look at Aston Villa, who's currently in 5th place, could be. I mean, at the weekend, when the weekend's all said and done, they could be in 3rd place. So that's like they are still competing for Champions League or for Champions League, spots. And for people who sit there and like, where you finish in the league doesn't quite matter unless you finish first in safety. It does matter. It's like if you were to finish 3rd or 5th and 3rd, you're thinking about £10 million a £10 million difference, damn near. So the placement in the league does matter. I mean, it's kind of like F1 where you finish higher up the table and you get more money from the league. So there's that. And then I look at the remainder. I mean, West Ham, I already said, is already in a relegation battle. Burnley's already been relegated. Then I look at Crystal Palace down in 13th, Fulham in 10th. But it seemed. What'd you say?
Chris Richards. Anyways, go ahead.
Chris Richards. That's as long as he doesn't do well against us, that's all that matters. If he plays like he did in the Carabao Cup against us, that'd be so awesome. Just not play well, and we got defenders beating him all the time, or attackers beating him left and right all the time. Hey, Chris, as long as you play well for the U.S. men's national team, I don't really care what you do, as long as you play bad for Crystal Palace against us. But if you were to play City, which you do, play really, really well. That's what my advice would be to you. But I'm just looking at the schedule, obviously, the run-in and everything, and everyone's going to be talking about this, and that's what makes the sport great and everything, is when you have teams like this that are, quality at the top, and it goes to the end of the season. Like last year was a boring season, if I'm being completely honest with you. Like it was right around Thanksgiving, like Liverpool was just pulling away and they never looked back since. It was Man City, Arsenal just weren't up to
Yeah.
par last year. But, looking at the run in, can they take advantage of this? And if I'm being honest, Nate, I don't know. Arsenal's been playing well and they're turning up at the right time. So I would not be surprised if somehow, some way, they could win out. If I'm being honest, that's not an Arsenal slappy, but they've been playing well. I just know one of these games, it's going to be the West Ham or the Burnley game. There's going to be some sort of magic, or it's going to be a difficult game, and they're going to need some sort of magic to get the victory because that's how you win champion. Like, there's certain things that have to happen in order for you to be a champion in the Prem, and one of those things is scoring a 90th plus whatever winner. And when that goes in, it's one of the craziest feelings of all time. Like, think about Milrow getting stopped, and then also throw in like the Rod Moore interception, and then times that by 10 against Ohio State. Like, it's an unreal feeling that I like.
Mhm.
I can't describe it. You can't describe it, but you've just got to experience it at least once. Man, is it awesome!
You are an Arsenal slappy, by the way, but it's okay. It's okay to admit.
I'll
I do
take
think
it.
you take some middle ground on some topics, though. So yeah, I mean, you're not yet completely one way, but
There's just
it's okay to own it.
There's certain ways that I feel where I'm like, you know what? They might really do this thing. And this is like, I didn't feel this way in 2021, 2022. I was just having fun with it. I'm like, dang, we could win this thing. I mean, obviously we didn't. But then like 2020, the year after that, I was like, dude, we're not winning this thing. City's going to win 15 straight or whatever it was. Last year, we never really had a shot at winning it. But there's just certain times where I feel, I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
They could win this thing. And still baffles me that like the majority of fan bases just love when Arsenal lose. Like, they would rather see their team lose more than their team win, which makes zero sense to me. Like, guys, get a life. Like, please, get some help. Like that Michael Jordan meme. Stop it. Get some help. Please.
Yep.
Like, that's what it feels like to me sometimes, where it's like your team is facing relegation and you would much rather your team lose than see Arsenal win. Like, that is just weird to me, guys. Like, please, get a life.
Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about the World Cup. Iran will be playing in the World Cup as originally planned. Also, if we can fit this one in, we will. And expecting to talk to Joel Nash and Neil Rule. But Ryan Reynolds considering bringing Major League Baseball back to Canada, Vancouver, as they are in the midst of potentially losing their MLS side. It's an interesting venture, an expensive one, but we'll talk about that on the other side. First, FC Bayern Summer Soccer Camps are a proud sponsor of the National Soccer Network, fostering football excellence across North America, open to boys and girls of all skill levels. FC Bayern camps deliver elite training inspired by FC Bayern Munich's world-class philosophy. Select your city and start a promising soccer path. Right now, save $30 on registration by using promo code BayernNSN30. Again, that's BayernNSN30, or scan the QR code on your screen. Learn more at FCBayernYouth.com.
So the dream behind Irene's was simply to be a place where the community could come and gather. This is my hometown. We're raising our family here, and we just want to be a space where people can come together as a community and share a great meal. We've got golf simulators, we got pinball, live music, trivia nights, but we also have fresh, always homemade, locally sourced food, and we serve it with a sense of Gemütlichkeit. This is a German word that conveys a sense of warmth and coziness and belonging. We're excited to show off how we're growing and that this is the place to be.
Back in live and inside the game, episode 280 here on the National Soccer Network. Coming up here closely, Neil Rule as well as Joel Nash will be joining us here on Inside the Game. First, let's get into this next topic here in hour number one. Just got done talking about
real quick, because he's going to be on at 9:25. It is currently 9:21. You just want to
do mailbag or a couple of questions?
Just a couple questions, because I mean,
All right.
we're not going to be able to fit. But yes, everyone, Iran is playing in the World Cup now, and they will play in the U.S. As scheduled, so there won't be anything different about that. So yeah, let's go over a couple questions. Particularly,
right.
I want to go to my whole MLS video that I said that Nate clipped. Like, dude, you guys took it all out of proportion. I was not talking. Okay, so this was about the mid-European players coming over into the MLS. And one of them was like, did you seriously just call Kaká, David Villa, and Lampard mid? I called them mid when they showed up. That's what I'm talking about. They are not mid players in their careers. Those are some of the best players. Maybe not Frank Lampard, because, man, did he flop really bad in the England national team. That team never did anything. But I'm not talking about them being mid players overall. I am talking about them being mid players when they showed up to the MLS and dominated. That's what I'm talking about. I am not saying
you called them mid players, Ryan. You said
not
what's up with all these mid players coming over from Europe?
In their career. I'm talking about when they showed up here when they were like 32, 34, 35, even older, that they were mid then, not in their overall careers. You guys just take all my words and put it out of proportion.
I don't know, man. I think you were pretty adamant in saying that, you know, all these mid players are coming over to the United States and dominating our league, you know. So I it's just the way you phrased it, man. It's the way you phrased it right out of the gate, you know. So I'm just, you know, they might have a point.
A lot of people are saying, some people are saying, yeah, I could play in this league. I could show up and dominate. I think you're asking for the wrong solution. These old players dominate because MLS isn't on a comparable level. Level up your players, and then it won't be a retirement league. Guys, the MLS is not a destination league for players in their prime. Let's be real. We can't, unless all of a sudden we are going to be able to get MLS sides in the UEFA Champions League, which is not possible. The MLS will never be a destination league for players in their prime. Unless we offer everyone absurd amount of money and they're like, you just simply can't simply say no. But that's a horrible business model when it comes to a league like this. So we've seen it in the Saudi leagues. We've seen it in the Chinese Super League. Guys, we are not a destination league. We never will be unless we are somehow in Europe or like we change the game. I don't know. But guys, they will never show up here in their prime. The only time we get these players is when they're washed up and they're mid.
Yeah, that's true. Yep, at the swan song of their career, if you will. Do we have Neil in with us right now? I think we might be a little bit early. We might be seconds early.
Neil's
here.
not on till later. It is Joel that is showing up first.
Joel joining us.
Joel,
okay.
Joel at 9:25. Neil Rule at 9:50. Fabian says it's because they don't shell out the money like Europe. I would probably disagree with some of the contracts that some of these players have. It's just the fact that these players want to be playing in the Champions League. These players want to be playing against the best time and time again. But yeah, no, that is the simple reason why they want to be playing in these leagues. It has nothing to do with the amount of money. The only way they play in the MLS is if they have crazy amounts of money. We can get into one more before Joel eventually gets on. Dude, everyone gets mad. I like this one. This is my favorite comment. It's because the MLS is a pub league. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say it's a pub league. I think it's miles ahead of a pub league. But I don't know. I just would not call it a pub league. I would call it a pretty okay league, is what I would say.
Yep. It's like NCAA plus. Let me put it that way. It feels like the like kind of like college soccer, but like a step above that here in the U.S. Like obviously they're better, and MLS sides are better, but it's not. Yeah, I don't know. Retirement league is because you do have a lot of young players that are coming out of the MLS, right? So you can't truly call it a retirement league, but I don't know. What is it? Somewhere in the middle, I suppose.
This one's funny. Francisco says Ronaldinho at 50 would dominate the MLS. CR7 would be the best young player of the MLS at 41. I would highly disagree on him being the best young player in the MLS at the age of 41. There's a handful.
41 is young now, but not young in terms of sports.
There's a handful of good young players that are 17, 18, 19, 20 that eventually will most likely get bought by big European clubs. But I'm just saying, no. Ronaldo would not dominate at 41. Okay. I want to put a hypothetical out there real quick, Nate, before Joel shows up. Because I was listening to a clip. Brother, was the league minimum in the Premier League versus the MLS? I don't know what the league minimums is. Well, no, because I don't know if there's technically a league minimum because the academy players get like a really bad pay, like $500 a week or something like that. So I don't know what the league minimums are. But no, I wanted to put this hypothetical out there because I saw this on the Alexi Lalas show or whatever it is, the State of the Union podcast, whatever. He goes before the MLS side that goes to Las Vegas from Vancouver, because they're like, yeah, dude, they're going to Las Vegas, whatever. Does Ronaldo or Neymar show up to that Las Vegas side?
Is this an either or
Like,
will either of them
I don't know
show
if they.
up?
I think they said Neymar specifically, but who do you see more likely showing up, Ronaldo or Neymar, to the Las Vegas MLS team?
Probably Neymar. I don't know. I don't for one reason or another. I mean, I know that obviously Ronaldo has ties in Los Angeles. We talked about him in the West Coast and what his son was technically born here. You talked about that yesterday.
He could play for the U.S. men's national team. Damn right.
He could. I mean, technically, doesn't Ronaldo have citizenship here in the U.S.?
Let's see.
So what if we go Ronaldo and Ronaldo Jr. both on the U.S. men's national team? How about that?
That'd be the most LeBron, Bronny James Jr. Thing I've ever seen. Okay, we do have Joel on the show. Where is he at? Oh, I see him right here. Joel,
so welcome
into the show, my man.
Good morning, guys. How are you all?
Doing good.
Doing all right. Joel, first of all, just wanted to start off here. Obviously, you're the senior vice president with the United Soccer League and really excited about what this summer has coming up. How have preparations been on your end?
There's always a mixture of madness and excitement. We'll have well over 1,000 games across both League Two and W League this season, and we couldn't ask for more soccer given the World Cup and all the excitement coming into the summer. But we're thrilled to, and I know we're going to get to enjoy chatting about some games that we'll especially highlight while obviously covering all of our matches. But we're really excited for these seasons for sure.
Do you guys feel like you might be in a little bit of competition this summer, just with the World Cup being around, and maybe more people will want to go to their games compared to the USL2 and USLW?
It's a great question, and I think we'll obviously explore it and try and track it where we can. I think the beauty in how we think about both of these leagues would be so many people coming over to watch the World Cup have such a deep appreciation for whether you want to call it hyper local, community based, lower level soccer, clearly not on-field product, but lower division soccer. They're so used to, supporting that while maybe supporting their national team. So I think if anything, there's going to be what we would expect and what we've heard from our clubs as they prepare and work within their communities, whether they're in a city that hosts a World Cup match or doesn't. I think we're excited that there's going to be millions of fans over here that want to watch and consume as much football as they can. And I think there's a real opportunity for us that we've spoken to with our clubs on capturing that momentum coming into it. So I think we've got nothing but excitement, and we'll go from there.
And I think capturing the authenticity of the game is something that's been very important for the USL. You mentioned the community focus in places where these fans are coming from, and a lot of them do. They have a love for these small communities and these passionate supporter groups. How are you guys creating more of an authentic experience for the game here in the US?
That's probably the $1,000,000 question. I think there's a mixture of what we try and do from a league level is bring a level of cohesive foundational support. Obviously buzzwords, but part of the role of a league is to create that platform. Obviously continue to raise the bar of that platform so that the collective whole, rising tide raises all ships denotion comes about, but also allowing, as we're getting to see some incredible action across League Two, the two clubs on this screen, Lionsbridge and Vermont Green, each have their own type of community, whether it be a bit more family friendly or young professional. The brands that these clubs bring to life, it is back to, we want to allow enough room and flexibility for the clubs to really be part of the fabric of their community. And there's a level of kind of hands off that we have to find so that each club and their community can again bring to life what the community looks like through the club, while again also making sure that we keep things as professionally operated as we can and continue to support the clubs across the country. Both clubs who've got a couple decades under their belt and clubs that'll be kicking off as an inaugural team this year.
I forgot to even ask. What things do you oversee in the USL? What are the type of tasks that you got to do on a regular basis?
The number one, I would say, task, but I think it's a better put word. It really would be responsibility and joy is getting to know, supporting, and ultimately speaking with team owners. In the end, they have, made a big commitment, and we all have together made big commitments to build this sport at the club level and, of course, at the league level. So consistently talking with, whether that be challenges and opportunities at an individual club level, but really just checking in and finding what areas that they're doing, leading up, certainly right this time of the year. It's making sure everybody is, quite frankly, really ready to go. Any support we need to continue to provide them at the league level. That would be probably my number one responsibility, which is certainly where I find my most joy in my role. And then ultimately, there's a lot of different key, incredible team members here at the headquarters of USL that, whether they're doing content, marcoms, to operations, to website and digital and data. It's all the different components and departments that go into these leagues. And in my role, it's making sure that all of them are working towards that singular vision of getting through this season and making sure that the 26 seasons are the best ones we've had across our leagues. So certainly when it comes to League Two and W League, those would be kind of the two key focal points, that internal collaboration and unity, as well as speaking with our team owners.
Collaboration is the only way that we're going to continue to grow this sport, and through having those conversations with those owners. So I guess it begs the question, where have been the biggest areas of growth in the USL?
I'll speak certainly just from within my purview. I think the enjoyment that we all can have of the future state of promotion, relegation, and USL Premier coming to life. But while that all very much impacts, and I can only speak to that much on that front, but certainly within League Two and W League, one thing, of course, has been the amount of communities that have become or ultimately opened up League Two or W League clubs in the last, even 5 years, where we've seen some incredible growth, certainly in communities that might be more micro communities in these major cities. We've got Ballard up here as a great example. And then you've got Flint, Michigan. That's its own community.
Shout out.
And
Yeah.
the Bucks,
Yeah.
serve as the highest level of football that Flint can see. And so what you've got on the screen is a great representation of that momentum, where there's just such a large appetite for more than, quite frankly, just the on-field product, as important as that is, because that's the vehicle. It's people being able to try and represent what they believe through their community through the lens of a football or soccer team. So I would say, clearly, with our partnership more formalized coming into this season with Premier Media Group and NSN, ultimately we know more and more people across the country and even world, from the technical staff, from scouts and coaches, to friends and family of players, but then ultimately fans across the U.S. As we've heavily invested and worked with our clubs to heavily invest in broadcast and live stream. It is definitely one of our biggest momentums, but also it was a key decision for us to continue to make sure that the time and attention, and ultimately the pedigree of these leagues, continues to grow.
I want to get into some of the specific matchups here shortly, but at first I wanted to mention this part because we've talked about this on the show. The thing that I think is awesome about the USL is some of the markets you guys have been able to uncover, some of the very passionate fan bases out there that maybe don't have a Major League Soccer squad or anything else really nearby that they can gravitate to. What are some of the best hotspots in the USL that you guys have really been able to take advantage of and see that outpouring of support?
Yeah, in a good way. You're putting me on the spot. I'm not gonna. I'm gonna try not to show too many favorites, because it's
that's fair. That's fair.
It's a great question, and I again, back to the relationships I have.
Mm-hmm.
I am actually trying to think about this. One really great story, just bringing it up to Michigan. And giving, Dan Duggan, who with partners started the Mid-Michigan Bucks in the 90s, right? And then fast forward to Costa Papista running ship with Flint City since 2019. The reason I bring Flint up is, while incredible successes across the league happened before that, right? I'm humbled to have been at USL for 11 years in a couple days. But 2019 was such a unique year, obviously, with Flint's first year in the league. Flint lifted the title in League Two. The type of support we saw at that final, and obviously saw throughout the season, for us, it was a huge representation of where the future of these leagues will be, right? We believed it, and there were great examples of it, for many years. But at least from a personal standpoint, which is an important factor, that was a real representation of, we're on the right track. We've got so many more opportunities to go. So again, Flint might not be, once you've been there, you see the type of life that's continuing to bubble up, but you might not, personally always think of a community like Flint that could have the type of support they have. And that's credit to a club to unlock that as well. I think a really intriguing area of the country, which I know Ballard's on this screen as well, the Pacific Northwest. I think we've seen it across Major League support from fans, but these micro communities has been something special that is also really cool, where clubs have continued to inspire interest from new people. And obviously we've got a large number of clubs right now, so not looking at a ton of potential new clubs in the area as we speak. But it's also something that we've seen some really good local rivalries where, fans have a 20, 25-minute drive to a rival of a club. And that's really kind of the next wave that we think between League Two and W League we can really grow, where you've got more community-based clubs within an easy drivable distance. And then we start to feed on that rivalry, which then it's organic too. It's not a fabricated rivalry. We want the clubs to foster the rivalry, and there is real, I won't clearly say hatred, but there's some clear passion for their own fans. And we're seeing a lot more of those kind of inter-club cups, quite frankly, as well.
Joel, you guys will be having. You guys have already solidified the games of the weeks for USLW and USL2 for the month of May. Kind of what went into those decisions of having these specific games be played as game of the week, and how excited are you to even have a game of the week for both leagues?
Yeah, it's been incredible in that we, ultimately moved and progressed our live stream and broadcast initiatives exponentially going into last season. And there was a hope, but certainly a plan to continue to elevate what, the action across both of these leagues. So the opportunity to work with Jonathan and Premier Media Group and NSN to elevate matches this season has been incredible. Again, like we talked about previously on the show, I think one key thing that goes into this is it was actually an incredible opportunity to look at all the matchups and not just look at individual clubs, but matchups and the storylines that can start to come out of these, whether they're more local or regional rivalries or clubs that have battled it out for playoff, if not, key decision-making matches in the past. I think this was also an opportunity for us to showcase in all the different regions, what we call divisions or conferences across each league, ultimately showcase some key clubs and matchups that we know, whether it be fans are going to already look forward to these games, or perhaps novice fans just getting into the league will better ultimately witness the type of talent, the type of clubs that we have in the league. So there were extensive hours put into, quite frankly, these matchups, because it also allowed us to see just how many incredible clubs we have in these leagues. And so it was certainly not an easy thing. And of course, 10 total matches will be with League Two, 8 will be with W League across the season. So in no way could we ever have an opportunity to showcase every incredible matchup, but we're certainly thrilled with the ones we have, for the month of May. And we'll keep it a secret, but we look forward to choosing some of the June matchups here shortly as well.
Well, I wanted to say very quickly, happy belated anniversary at the United Soccer League. I know you said 11 years in a few days, so we're just a few days off from that. So congratulations. Thanks so much for stopping by the show, Joel. I know we're excited over here to get rolling with you guys. And like we talked about, I mean, the USL is doing great work in terms of building the sport in the U.S. And hopefully there's a lot of good things to come, but we appreciate your time.
Ryan, Nathan, thank you guys so much.
Yes, sir.
Thank
Joel
you.
Nash here on Inside the Game.
Yeah.
And I mean,
it's a lot of fun. When you think of Saturday night, you think of, USL2, USLW matchups, and then maybe the Tigers. That's all I got to say. Maybe the Tigers.
maybe the Tigers. No, I liked a lot of what he had to say. And I think, him talking about the community feel, and I know he couldn't talk about specific clubs. I kind of knew that going into that question, but I wanted to see where he would go in terms of what has impressed him the most about some of these places. And I like his Michigan shout outs too, because obviously he knows that hits a little bit closer to home when it comes to us. But no, it's awesome. And I think they're uncovering a lot of passionate soccer fans. And I think we're starting to get a feel as to what this league, these two leagues, USLW and USL2, really can be moving forward. We got Neil Rule coming up in about 7 minutes, so we'll fit in another break here. Probably get to a couple more questions, I imagine, on the other side before Neil finally gets on, or we can talk about Iran and the World Cup if you'd like to do that as well. But let's tell people about Barca Academy. Deal?
All right, yeah, let's do it.
Sounds good to me. Barca Academy is a proud sponsor of the National Soccer Network and the official academy of FC Barcelona in the United States. Designed for boys and girls ages 6 to 18, Barca Academy camps follow and replicate the FC Barcelona game model. Same philosophy used by Barca's professional coaching staff. Right now, you can save $30 on registration by using promo code FCB30. Again, that's FCB30, or scan the QR code on your screen. Find a camp near you at fcbarcelona.us/camps.
In Barca Camp, I sing my song Grown on and off of the field. Don't miss the time to register.
Sign up now for Barca Camp.
Back in live on Inside the Game, episode 280 here on the National Soccer Network. I'm Nate Wangler. That's Ryan Glinsky. Again, Neil Rule coming up here shortly on the show. Expecting him at about 9:50. Talk about covering that game of the week. So Neil Rule will be joining us here, play-by-play, yes, for Detroit City FC, the place that Ryan and I were last week when Chicago Fire came in, take on DCFC at home in the U.S. Open Cup. It was a fun experience, dude. I will say I was happy at least I got one experience in at Keyworth Stadium before it's all over. Because is it officially next year that they're playing in the new stadium, or is it 2 seasons from now?
I have no idea, but that'd be a very good question to ask Neil here in a little bit. I don't know when exactly it is, because I feel like it's getting too close to where they wouldn't be able to open it up next year. But I
that's
feel
true.
like it's got to be pretty close. Which speak of the man himself, Neil Rule. Neil is in a car somewhere. Neil Rule, welcome on in.
Hey guys, what's going on? How are you? Sorry, I'm a couple of minutes late.
Oh, you're a couple minutes early.
Yeah, well, we were expecting 9:50, so hey, it counts. But welcome into the show, Neil. We're excited to get going for the USL season and obviously the game of the week, and excited to have you as well. Getting ready for things, going this year. How prepared are you, and how excited are you to get rolling?
No, very, very fired up, obviously, and I'm no stranger to USL League 2. I've called games all across the USL. I guess you could say at every single level. So, no, I'm excited, and I'm excited to see USL get this platform also, and the resources that'll be put into everything that's going on. And obviously my broadcast partner, John Krieger, and I, we've done, some pretty big time matches in the history of the USL. And so it's exciting. And I always talk about this too. And I talk about this on my talk show. What USL has done in American soccer, I don't think it gets enough credit. Like, if you look at the TV ratings, because what USL has done a great job of is understanding the power of televised matches. And look, like TV, when you say TV, it's not your father's TV or your grandfather's TV. Mm-hmm. There is no quote unquote TV anymore. It's people consuming games. And I have kids. They don't watch TV anymore. USL has done a job of meeting people throughout the history of their TV coverage. And it shows, right? Like, you look at USL Championship has carried some higher television ratings than MLS when the games are on at the same time. Like, that goes to show you, like USL is more than a viable product. Like, it's a desired product, and it's something where you've seen it. And I think what they do, I think what USL does perfect is they intermingle with the community of soccer. And when I say community of soccer, I mean people with their local clubs, people with their clubs in the communities that they live in, that they work in, that they do all of those things. USL meets everybody at their level, and they have like the national, powerhouse clubs in Detroit City FC and Lou City, and even on the West Coast too, with all the big time clubs that they have there. But when you boil it all down, and you go down to USL League 1, you go down to USL League 2, these are local cities that sometimes are next to each other that play each other. USL's hit this right on the middle of the bullseye with what they've done with the game of soccer in US, and they've intertwined it with community and soccer. And to be honest with you guys, like, that's the difference. I'm just calling it like I see it, right? Like, do I work in USL? Yeah, I've called MLS matches too. I'm just telling you what I see and what I've done. And they do a perfect job. And this USL League 2 match of the week that John Krieger and I are going to be a part of that coverage, that's just another step in it. And it goes to show you that the USL is doing a great job.
You're kind of right on that. Our good friend Dave, who lives in Scotland, just commented in the YouTube chat, says, I've been watching tons of USL games on YouTube. So USL is very, very international, and especially not being the top tier league in America. Neil, if someone has never
Well,
heard
hey, Ryan, real quick on that. I mean, the national TV ratings might tell you a little different on that. I'm just saying. I'm just going by what the facts are, my friend. But go ahead.
I was just going off the pyramid, like obviously just going off the U.S. soccer pyramid. You're right with the numbers. You're right.
I know.
For someone that has never heard you and John call a game, what is the type of broadcast that they would be getting into with listening to you and your broadcast partner John Krieger?
I always like to say this about starting with me, like when I call soccer, obviously, and I've called it for a very, very long time, like going over a decade on it. I think John does a great job of bringing what I don't bring to a broadcast. And I think I bring what John doesn't necessarily bring to a broadcast. That's why it fits so well, I guess you could say. John understands the game at a level that I can't even comprehend. And I think that what I like to say that I bring to the table is, I know the game, obviously, and talk to coaches and watch the game on my own time and stuff like that. Like, I know the game. It's just I kind of also value kind of walking that fine line of being entertaining without being slappy about it. Like I don't need it to be like a variety. I'm not looking for the Neil Rule variety hour. But I am going to entertain you, like people want to be entertained, man. Like we just got done talking about this new space of where people consume matches and all of that. I understand that people need to be entertained or they will go elsewhere. Like we're people, right? Like that's just the way we are. And what John does, and this is why I'm so excited to do the USL League 2 matches with him. John knows the game and can tell you implicitly what is going on, what's going on away from the ball. Like people, there are people out there and there are color commentators in soccer all across the world that know the game. I will put John Krieger's soccer knowledge up against anybody. That's a fact. That's a bold statement, I know that, but that is a fact. And he brings a level that I can't bring to you. Just now, look, like I always say I'm watching the ball all the time. You guys know this. A lot of you guys have done play-by-play before. We're watching the ball all the time, so we can't necessarily tell you what's happening on the wing, what's happening behind the play, all that kind of stuff. John is locked in, and John is elite at the game of soccer and breaking down the game of soccer.
Neil, would you say maybe that you and John are a generational broadcast?
If we had only done 11 matches, then maybe we will be able to tell you that we were generated. That's a great inside bit, Ryan. I like that. But we also never said that we were generational. That's the difference. Sorry, go ahead.
Would KG call your broadcast generational?
Well, yeah, because they have lower standards. Like that's yeah. 11 passing touchdowns is generational to some.
Ryan, I had the opportunity to do color on a game that Neil was on, and he held me to, I believe it was only 2 one-liners, maybe 1 one-liner. I was not allowed to go any further than that. No more low-hanging fruit outside of that. So, yeah, he holds you to a certain standard.
Oh, look, man, Nathan, like you can take the low-hanging fruit every now and then. You just can't harvest it, man. Like you can't, you know what I mean? Like you can pick one off the branch and eat it. Like if you're hungry, like that's fine. But you can't take that to market and sell it to the people, my friend.
That's fair. Yeah, I'll give you that for sure. But I did want to mention this. Recently got my first experience at DCFC, and I was actually talking to JT about this. They were playing Chicago Fire in the U.S. Open Cup. That's the first time I've ever really experienced a soccer environment like that. I mean, I've been to high school games, college games, nothing really of the sort. In your play-by-play experience, are you seeing that in other places as well?
In terms of that environment?
Yeah.
Well, I've called NBA games and, like games all over the pyramid and MLS matches and stuff like that. I haven't seen that in sports. Not soccer, like sports. Because I always say pound for pound, because there's 7,000 fans at every DCFC match because that's what the stadium holds. So I've always said this, that pound for pound, they're the best sports fans in America, not in soccer. Like
Wow.
in America, because you can't go. But I would also say this, right? Like soccer, I believe soccer's the only sport that can fuel that because it's 90 minutes and there's no commercial breaks. There's nothing to to kill the vibes because the game is going all the time. Now there are obviously there are different style games out there. But yeah, I mean, it is one of the best environments in American sports, not just soccer, man, because, and you can feel it, right? Like in our jobs, sometimes it can get tough, right? Because you're a product of the environment. It's not tough there, not for a second, man. And it doesn't matter. They're winning, they're losing. It's always the same. So yeah, they don't get the credit that they deserve in sports, let alone soccer. I'm just talking about in sports. Yeah, it's magical. You were there, you saw it. I mean, and they were down 2-0 in that match. And and the fans stay with it. Like they're in it. They got that goal. That place was rocking. And they were down 2-1.
Yeah.
Like think about that, man. Like especially when you look around sports in America now, it's almost like there's like an expectation of number one, like people seem like they don't want to go to sporting events if it's like a Wednesday, and they're playing Sacramento. Like if the Pistons are playing Sacramento, there might be like a little less vibe in the room. Or if the Red Wings, if the Red Wings are playing Utah or whatever on a Wednesday night, and there's a little less vibe in the room. It doesn't matter who Detroit City's playing, and it doesn't matter what day of the week it is. You went on a Tuesday. The Dodgers have empty seats on a Tuesday. Not that night, man. That's my point about it. It's not only is it there's two classifications, right, in sports to me. There's the Instagram crowd, the crowd that goes to the game to put it on the gram to say they were there, and then there's like the crowd that goes because it's their team and they love the game and all that. Detroit City FC's both, man. Like they're both, like it's cool to be there and they love the team. Like they've found something there, no doubt.
Neil, you've called games in the game of soccer for a long time. What are a couple things that you have? What are a couple ways that you have seen the game grow here in America?
Like growth, like, do you mean like in terms of its acceptance in American sports culture? Are you talking like the game itself?
I just would say the crowds. Obviously, you've seen Detroit City FC grow from like a high school stadium crowd to now they're going to be moving into a massive stadium.
No, I think that like soccer's acceptance in the pantheon of American sport, I think there are a couple factors to that. Number one, what soccer has done just in terms of as our schedules have condensed in America, college students, parents with kids, etc., all the responsibilities that you have on a day-to-day basis is with soccer, it's 90 minutes plus stoppage time, no matter what.
Yeah.
And it's a hard 2 hours, that stuff's over. And I think that is part of the reason for the way that soccer has grown, because time certainty in a society where we live, where we are more crunched for time than ever, and it is 2 hours and over. And then you go on about your day, which I think fuels the tailgate or going to the bar to watch the game or whatever it is. There's a time certainty with soccer. And I think I haven't heard anybody talk about this, but I came up with this on my own, by the way. So sometimes I have about 3 good ideas a year, and I used one up on this one where I think, but just to cross compare, like NCAA softballs had explosive television growth. Why? 7 innings and it's over. It's over within 2 hours, and I think that's got a lot to do with it too, I think.
And it is interesting that you mentioned that part of it too, is the speed of the game, the pace of the game. I think it matters. I think that really gets people interested in what's going on, and it keeps them locked in at the same exact time. I wanted to mention this last part because we've talked a lot about the USL and the MLS, and the USL almost competing with the MLS and trying to push it off of its throne. Now, obviously, the amount of money that's flying around in Major League Soccer, you got 5 clubs valued at over $1 billion. That's a lot of money. But when you talk about the TV ratings and side by side, how the USL is generated maybe some bigger ratings in terms of more people watching their product, are they a lot closer to competing and maybe pushing MLS off their throne than what we give them credit for?
Just look at the people. The people want. I mean, I said it earlier. You just said it. Look at the TV ratings, man. Like, they're neck and neck over network television. And like, I'm talking like MLS, like LA Galaxy, LAFC, you know, El Trafico, and got outdrawn by USL match, man. Like, that's it. Like, people can tell me about, you know, their thoughts and what they think, and you know, $500 million expansion fees and $1 billion valuations and all that kind of stuff. I'm a simple man. Like, what do people like? You know what I mean? Like, and it's way closer. It's way closer than anybody A would tell you, B would ever admit, and C, to the point where it probably, you know, for the powers that be, it probably concerns them a little bit. But, you know, I mean, I'm just going by what I see, man, and I'm just going by, you know, viewership that we've had here in Detroit. Like, and no one talks about this. Like, in Detroit, our viewership last year on TV it wasn't better than, but it was in the ballpark with the Tigers. It was in the ballpark. Like, wow. It didn't pass them, but it was in the ballpark. And in the past, we've had games with Detroit City on TV, like local TV, that would outdraw, you know, like throughout, I've been doing the games over a decade. Like, throughout time, like, we would outdraw the lower tier MLB teams in their daily TV viewership. No one ever talks about that, though, because, like, you know, you'd have to admit some hard truths if you talked about that. So again, I just go by facts, and I just go by what the people want.
Well, I think the other thing that people want
what
is
Ryan? Ryan?
Nothing. I just laughing. Just laugh. That's all.
I can give you the numbers if you want. Like, you know,
I'm not disagreeing with
print
the
them out
numbers.
side by side.
Yeah.
I think the other thing that people want is to maybe see the Pistons somehow get their way out of round one. You know, if possible, force Game 7. Do they win tonight, Neil?
Yeah, I think that they will. Wagner being out of that series changes everything, and it's not offensively, it's what they do defensively. Anybody notice a difference between anybody notice a difference with what Kay was able to do in Game 5 versus like the rest of the series? And there was no Wagner on the switch. They were just, and this is very basketball geeky, and I know we're on the National Soccer Network, but they couldn't just blind switch ball screens, and, you know, Wagner would pick up Cade and be able to like defend him, you know, so they don't have that tool anymore. So as long as Wagner's gone, now it's tough because their back's against the wall. There's no margin for error. But this Pistons team, man, even throughout the regular season in games that, you know, they would have an answer. So I would be surprised if they didn't have an answer tonight, because they've been a good team on the road all year. And through all this, like, fans forget, through all this, the only thing they have to do is win a game on the road.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, they win a game on the road, they got Game 7 at home, and everything's back even. As tough as it's been, they win tonight, it's Game 7 at home. That's it.
I think this is a better question, because we also are on Sports Nation TV, so we can be geeky with basketball.
Shout out.
Does Arsenal win the Premier League, Neil?
My connection's breaking up. Like, do you guys, like, I didn't quite hear that last. No, Arsenal doesn't win the Premier League.
They could get there. I called your good friend Adam Jackson, who's a fellow Liverpool fan, yesterday, and he answers the phone with, "Do you have a bottle near you?" I'm like, "What do you mean a bottle near me?" He goes, "Yeah, for all the tears you're gonna cry when Arsenal doesn't win the league." I was like, "Come on, Adam, come on now."
Yeah, it's what Arsenal does. Okay. All right. Let me know. And it's funny too, because like the Arsenal people, like, I have a lot of Tottenham fans. My broadcast partner John Krieger is a Tottenham fan. Like, they're going to get relegated. I hear all this talk about all these people, and in the meantime, there's little old Liverpool, man, just squeaking by and doing what we got to do. We did have a generational run with Liverpool. So
what, you won
two
I don't want to titles in like 8 years? Is that what you're talking about?
Oh, are you talking about the Champions League in the same year?
You won one.
You talk about that too?
You won one in that same 8-year stretch. You spent $500 million.
Correct.
You spent $500 million. Oh,
stop! Stop with that. Because
You let Louis Diaz,
Liverpool
and now
was
he's
smart.
just killing it.
Oh, well, Liverpool was smart. They sold Coutinho, and you remember, what did they do with Coutinho, right?
Yes, I would agree
Allison,
with
Van
that.
Dijk, and had money left over. Don't blame Liverpool because they're smart and Tottenham's dumb and kept Harry Kane all those years.
I think
maybe-
Arne Slot may have woke up on third base and thought he hit a triple. I think that might potentially ring a bell.
That's fair.
Hey,
Dave
you know, it
also
may
said
be-
his connection went down. Dave likes to mute the chat whenever Arsenal shows up on the bottom of the screen. He's
Hey, maybe
not a big Arsenal guy either.
maybe John can get his hands on some of that new Tottenham Peppa Pig gear that they just came out with that new partnership, trying to battle for relegation there. But Neil, appreciate you hopping on the show.
Yeah.
We'll see you around the studio, but really exciting things coming up this summer.
Absolutely, guys. Appreciate the time. Yeah, excited to be part of USL League 2 in the match of the week. We're going to be doing it big, so make sure everybody checks that out. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you,
Neil
Neil.
Rule here on Inside the Game. That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, I'd rather see you guys go at it like in person, like in the same room together, no audio connection. So there is no breaking up in that instance. It's just you two talking about it. That was fun. I could have just sat back and listened to you two go at it for a while there.
I'm just
It's cool
saying,
with me.
500 million, and they can barely. They're not winning anything. I'm just saying, little Liverpool. Oh my God, they spent 500 million. They're fine.
Let's take a break here. When we come back, we'll continue the soccer conversation. May as well. We're already in this deep. Got a few more topics, again, to talk about on that front. But a big thanks to our two guests here today, Joel Nash and Neil Rule. Again, you'll find those games of the week right here on the National Soccer Network. But Man City Soccer Camps are a proud sponsor of the National Soccer Network, bringing world-class training inspired by Man City's global football philosophy to players across the United States. Open to boys and girls of all skill levels, these camps focus on technical development, decision-making, and playing the game the City way. Right now, you can save $30 on registration by using promo code MCNSN30 or scan the QR code on your screen. Find a camp near you at usacamps.mancity.com. Back live and Inside the Game, episode 280 here on the National Soccer Network. Speedy Ryan Glinsky getting back to his seat just in time here on NSN, episode 280. Let's get into some of the other topics we got here on the show today. I guess we can circle back and talk about a couple of the ones that we already had on the docket, just weren't able to get to. And Joel Nash, Neil Rule here on the show. Those guys were awesome. And looking forward to seeing what this summer is going to be for the USL. And you know what's crazy, very quickly before we get to all this, I didn't realize that the TV ratings were not just comparable, but better than the MLS when stacked side by side. That's interesting. And I agree with the mentality, Ryan. I'm a simple guy as well. You know, if you get too deep into the numbers, and I talk about this all the time, specifically when it comes to baseball, you know, and advanced analytics and all these other things, what do the numbers tell you? There is such a thing as getting too deep into the weeds on a lot of that stuff. And for the MLS, you know, the big muscle that they're flexing is obviously the valuation of these clubs. But if viewership ratings tell us anything, it seems like this is a lot closer in terms of popularity of the two organizations than maybe what we're willing to give it credit for. Maybe the USL is actually making a push in terms of just the fan portion of the game, really kind of taking things over. So I thought that was fascinating what Neil said there.
I also find it fascinating too. I think that there's a couple things about the MLS and the USL game that's vastly different. I mean, look at Vancouver. They have a pretty good fan base, and you're telling me that there is a possibility that they're going to have to relocate? Like, what club in Europe is, you know, that has a successful fan base, has a successful team? Mind you, Vancouver was in the finals a year ago. They still have a good team. And the fact that, you know, we just can't get enough ticket revenue, or we don't get enough sales from tickets and inside the game, like, even though people still show up to the stadium and pack it out, but it's like, you have a loyal fan base and you might have to relocate. Like, that's crazy to think about. And with these USL 2 clubs and these USL Championship clubs and USL League 1 clubs, I mean, they have a pretty, you know, strong following. I'm not saying like they're going to pack out 60,000 seat stadiums or whatever it is, but they have a very passionate, loyal fan base. And I would much rather have a stadium filled out every single weekend of, say, 5,000 to 10,000 loyal, passionate fans, then go into a stadium of Instagrammers
1,000%.
with 30,000 people watching me.
Yes, 1,000%, and make stadiums that can actually be filled out. You know, I understand that you
please don't go
can
into
fit
NFL stadiums, guys. You're just asking to have it look bad.
Right. So it's a unique game. It's a different game. And so we have to treat it that way. And I think that's exactly what the USL has done in the United States. They've kind of gone the opposite way. And clearly it's worked out well for them. So let's get into this next topic, though. I know we got a couple of them here. Iran will be playing in the World Cup in the United States as originally planned. I know we had talked about them potentially bowing out. They initially said they will not be a part of it. Then they said, never mind, we're in it. Then we had the whole conversation about them potentially being replaced by Italy because Italy failed to make it for the third World Cup cycle in a row. Layers and layers and layers to the story. All this to be said, Iran will actually be there. And not only will they be there, they will play in the continental United States if they need to. And so everything, I guess, has been shaken out. What I will say about this is that I think for most who agree with fairness in sport, this is good news. And I would say the same exact thing too. You know, uncomfortable, sure. And I think uncomfortable maybe for the players, certainly for the supporters in certain ways. You know, I would be uncomfortable. I've never been to the Middle East myself. I did have a friend growing up who had family in where was it? Pakistan. And so,
Really?
you know, he would go back. He did. And he would go back and visit them from time to time. And, you know, he actually asked me once, he goes, would you ever want to go? And I'm like, not to judge a place I've never been to, but it would make me uncomfortable, I guess, in some ways. So I could see exactly where, you know, for many reasons why they would be uncomfortable. But in my opinion, necessary to maintain the sanctity of the sport is to make sure that Iran gets their opportunity in the World Cup. Because you can disagree with whatever you want to disagree with, but they earned it. They earned it on the pitch. And again, some of the other things around the sport, the political matters, which we know always play a big role in the World Cup, you know, but that shouldn't matter in terms of earning your way in. You know, I mean, the only freebies that we hand out are to host countries, and that's okay. That's one thing, you know, and obviously we've benefited greatly from not only being a host country, and I think we got a favorable draw in the World Cup as well. But Ryan, Iran earned it, and so they 100% deserve their opportunity to go play in the World Cup.
Yeah, I think they would be doing a disservice to their players because I said yesterday, I looked at their group, and I mean, they won't beat Belgium, but they will 100% be able to beat New Zealand and Egypt. I think they're 100% capable of doing that, and I still think they'll get out of the group in the second spot. I think it's Belgium's group to lose, and I think Belgium's quality is very good as it is anyway. But I think Iran is going to get out of the group. And again, if there was an issue with the United States and, like, let's say a Spain or a France or an England or a Brazil, then those countries would have gotten exactly what they wanted. They would have been able to relocate or whatever. And just for context, Iran's playing twice at SoFi Stadium and then wherever the Seahawks play in Seattle. I don't know the name. It used to be called something else, but I know it changed its name. And which, by the way, I would have loved to have been in Seattle for the Rashid Shaheed kickoff return to open things up against the 49ers. That place was crazy. But what I would say is I think this Iran team is capable of, you know, making a round of 16 or so. And I think of a nation that, you know, has had some hard times, that this would help, you know, unite a country potentially. And I think sports is one of the great equalizers, you know, in terms of any country's, you know, downturns or whatever that is, or a city that is crumbling a little bit. Like, I remember the Bad Boys back in that 30 for 30 documentary. I mean, Detroit was in a horrible place, and the Bad Boys kind of united the city in a way, I guess, if that makes sense. Like, they talked about, like, that was the first time in a long time that the city of Detroit has truly kind of, you know, been happy, you know, in the 80s and the 90s when they won back-to-back championships. And should have been 3, for being completely honest. I don't think that was a foul on Bill Laimbeer. Anyway,
right.
I'm just saying that, you know, in a country that is, you know, having some crazy, you know, situations, I think this team could be potentially someone that can rally around. Like, even these Iran players are probably going to play inspired. They're going to play super hard for their loved ones, their family members, their friends, whatever, back home. And I think this could be a very scary team, almost, in a way. I think I don't want to say they're like a dark horse or anything. They're going to make a quarterfinals or a semis. But I mean,
yeah, but they've been competitive. They've been making World Cups. They've been playing good and close against competitive sides. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. They're not a bad team.
Yeah, they're not a slouch. Yeah, so winning the World Cup, probably I would guess out of the question.
I wouldn't go past the semi. I wouldn't go to a semifinal or anything. Say that,
countries. Yeah, countries will hold on to individual wins, though, even if it's an impressive one in the group stage, or let's say somehow they get out and they win in an elimination game. I mean, those are the types of things that, as a nation that loves the sport as much as Iran probably does, and really that area of the Middle East, I mean, that's something that you're going to carry with for forever. You know, that's something that is always going to stick with you. So, and especially, it'd be one thing if, you know, for example, I'm doing college baseball this week, right? So I'm broadcasting a college baseball tournament. One of the teams got the Wolverine Hoosier Athletic Conference. So it's NAIA ball. It's over at the Meyer Sports Complex. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. It's good baseball. And it's relaxing too, because it's not the West Michigan Whitecaps, so I can just kind of sit back and kind of do it how I want to do it. Anyways, it's fun. But one team ended up getting pulled out of the tournament because they played an ineligible kid all year, which was wild. But you're going to have another chance at it next year. You know, literally next year, you'll probably be right back in the tournament. Yeah. Getting taken out of the World Cup, I mean, that's 4 years. And also, it's not a guarantee that you're going to get in 4 years from now. You're going to have to requalify all over again, lest they have the World Cup in Iran, which obviously that's not the plan. So that is where I think that this is important, that they are still in the picture and still have a chance.
And also remember, the 2030 World Cup is going to have Morocco in it, so that takes away all Morocco would have most likely been in regardless, but no matter what, that takes away at least a spot from Iran to even qualify, which, by the way, if that's actually confirmed what's going to happen in 2030, oh my Lord, how stupid FIFA is certain times. I mean, you're telling me we're going to start the games in Uruguay and Argentina on a totally different continent, and then we're going to finish it in Spain and Morocco or in Portugal? Come on, man. Don't be dumb. But that's a reason why I didn't want to play Ukraine in 2022. Like I think it was Wales, Ukraine as the last team to qualify. And I'm like, I don't want to play Ukraine. I don't want to do that because you don't understand I don't even understand what they're going through or what anything's going on. And they're going to play inspired. And we talked about it already on the show previously when Iran was maybe going to not play. We are going to take away a spot from a team that has already qualified, and we already know the expanded field. That's not necessarily going to create great games, and that's not going to necessarily create better games for everyone. And we finally we're able to let them have a spot at the table wherein they already qualified and they deserve to be there already, rather than giving it to a team like Italy who hasn't qualified or another African nation that's failed to qualify. So great to see from Iran. Excited to see, because I to be honest with you, Nate, I think they're around a 16 team. I really do.
Yeah, no, 100%. I definitely think that they could march their way there. In like I said, it's important because they earned that spot, in my personal opinion. So, I think in order to take them out of that, I think that it would, it just wouldn't be fair. So anyways, good to see them still involved in it. Let's take another quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about Ryan Reynolds potentially bringing a Major League Baseball team to Canada. Again, we mentioned Vancouver, potentially moving to Las Vegas.
And potentially buy the Whitecaps. Dude might be setting up shop in Vancouver for all we know.
Well, and it's an interesting venture because, I'm all for another major league team in Canada, but, we saw what happened in Montreal once upon a time. I mean, Toronto's close enough to Detroit, and they've had a major league team that has been successful, so that has bred a lot of popularity around that club, and obviously the game is growing in Canada, but is it a viable option, or does Ryan Reynolds just trying to continue to blaze new trails that aren't there? All that and more coming up next year on Inside the Game.
Experience the thrill of the game like never before with NSN's Game Rewind.
Dive into full match commentaries enhanced with cutting-edge dynamic graphics,
letting you relive the highs and lows of your favorite matches in astonishing detail.
Whether it's a championship win or a legendary play,
NSN Game Rewind bridges the past and future with a broadcast experience designed to captivate.
Call 586-304-4405
and start watching today.
Inside the Game continues along. Ooh, a wardrobe change? Is it hot in the room or something?
From the last break of me running around, I had to.
Okay, all right. I don't want to ask.
No, I was just hot.
Oh,
and the hoodie
okay.
and the hoodie is a Carhartt, so obviously that's because it was. We had a freeze warning last night here on the east side of the state, and I was like, I don't really want to bust out a North Face jacket, so I'm just going to go with the warmest hoodie I could find, and I went with the Carhartt Flint City Bucks hoodie, and I was like, I'm just going to rock it. It's going to be warm enough anyway to get me through the morning part, and then I sprinted down and sprinted back upstairs, and I was like, dude, this is hot. I need to take this off.
Yeah, I thought you had a little accident there for a second, but that's good.
No,
That's
I'm good.
Definitely a better.
I'm completely fine.
Right.
It's just I was really hot and needed to take off the hoodie.
That's fair. Fair enough. Let's get into this next topic. I also got a surprise topic for you. We were supposed to talk about it yesterday. I kind of shot the idea down initially, but I do think I have a good point around it. So we'll mention that one after this one. But Ryan Reynolds part of an ownership group that is now looking to bring a Major League Baseball team to Vancouver after the fans urged him to buy their Major League Soccer team, Ryan. So he's looking to expand the MLB back into Canada. They're already in Canada with the Toronto Blue Jays, but obviously they used to have multiple teams. They had the Montreal Expos, and they also had the Blue Jays. Obviously the Expos are no longer, despite having the coolest apparel I've ever seen in my life. I actually saw a guy with an Expos hat at a Whitecaps game recently, and I'm like, I like that. I want to be friends with whoever that guy is. But there's a lot to unpack here, Ryan. I mean, it could potentially be over a $2 billion investment. I don't think the money's really a concern, but if the MLS isn't viable in Canada, what's to say that Major League Baseball is going to be viable in that area of Canada? It's been good in Toronto, but I don't know. What says you?
It says, that was just not a great transition there, Nate, if I'm being completely honest. I think
with what? What in regards to
what says you? And I'm like, says me about what?
About the topic.
Sure. All right. Anyway, moving on here. He's from Vancouver, obviously, so he wants to get a team rolling there. But I mean, to be honest with you, I wouldn't even mess with an MLB franchise at all over there. If I'm being completely honest with you, I think it's a dumb idea. I think that with all the hockey that's going on, I don't necessarily think Canada is probably a top baseball country, nation, or anything like that. I think the only thing they want to do, I think the only thing that Canadians care about is beating America in the game of baseball or basketball or anything like that. But I'm just completely honest. I think it is a dumb investment. And remember, I'm pretty sure Ryan Reynolds got like a divorce recently. So he may have lost a handful of money, like $100 million plus, maybe. But if I'm being completely honest with you, though, you got to look at what he's got going on the other side across the pond with Wrexham. I know we've kind of talked about that idea of, is it even viable for them to even get promoted this year? And I don't think they will get promoted this year. I think they will just miss out on the playoff, or maybe they get into the playoff, they don't even get promoted. But who knows? It's Wrexham, and they've gone on such an insane run. They might get promoted because it's Wrexham at this point. But I'm just saying, I think you've got to focus on what you got going on over there. You've already done such a great job bringing them out of the mud, even into some relevance. But figure that out first, because the amount of money you've got to put into that. I understand you're in an investment group, but I think, if I'm being honest, though, he's got so much say and so much, power already with Wrexham as an owner. I don't necessarily know if maybe he began stretched too thin a little bit. I don't know if it's the best idea for him to get involved with an MLS or even buy the MLS or the MLB team or the MLS team.
I think a lot of people around baseball wanted to see the game go back into Canada and more an involved role. Now, obviously, Montreal didn't work out. I know I talked about their apparel, but the game itself, baseball, oddly enough, is booming in Canada. I think participation is up. I saw some numbers saying anywhere from 20 to 22% from year to year. And a lot of that is when you look at, obviously, with Toronto being the only Canadian team, there's a sense of national pride with watching and consuming the Toronto Blue Jays. That's why that Game 7 against LA meant a whole lot more for that country last year. Anybody outside of Los Angeles, maybe with the exception of a few who like jumping on bandwagons, don't want to see LA succeed. That is one of those cities right up there with New York that everybody's like, I don't really care to see New York or LA or any of those two markets really have success. Miami is also on that list with me too. I just couldn't care less for Miami, but it's everybody in the United States outside of LA Dodger fans. We're like, we don't want to see the LA Dodgers
Miami
win
to
this
succeed
Game
a little
7.
bit.
No,
Jacob
Miami?
Marcy's a dog.
Okay, all right.
He's
sure.
from.
Okay.
You're a big Michigan guy. He's from the state of Michigan.
That doesn't mean a thing to me unless he's playing. Well, okay, maybe
you just were praising
I want to see.
Chambliss.
We can see Jacob Marcy succeed and not see the Marlins succeed. Also, I got no beef with the Marlins per se. It's more the hockey side of things. The Marlins have not won anything ever, with the exception of Miguel Cabrera, who oddly enough has a World Series, but it wasn't with the Tigers, despite
So
being
they have a World
legend
Series more
in
recently
Detroit.
than us. Yikes.
Yeah,
And they're the one outlier when it comes to top payrolls too to win a World Series.
Yeah. So, well, the Marlins are just they're kind of clueless. But anyways, there is a national sense of pride when it comes to the Jays and what that Game 7 was. And I would even argue the majority of America outside of Los Angeles was also pulling for them to win that Game 7. And despite not winning that Game 7, they've already seen the residual in terms of popularity. So, I don't think Ryan Reynolds is a dummy. I think he is a smart person. I think he looks at analytics. I think he looks at trends. And so I think he understands when it is right to strike while the iron is hot. And unfortunately, asking him to buy the Major League franchise or the Major League Soccer franchise that is already kind of going under is not a financially viable solution for Ryan Reynolds, nor is it something that I'm sure he wants to be a part of. However, baseball has clearly taken on new legs in Canada. I'm not saying just because the Blue Jays are good, that's why the game is growing, but what I will say is there has been an influx of draft picks. There have been an influx of prospects that have come from Canada. They've gotten much, much better over the years. We had a couple of Canadians on our team last year on the Whitecaps, and so they have gotten more popular. The game has gotten more popular. And so I tend to believe, because you look at what they've done in Wrexham, and yeah, you can say because they had all of this money, they could make it work at Wrexham. But I also think they went into that venture knowing that if they looked at the analytics, if they did things the right way, that they could eventually work their way up. Now, I don't think anybody saw it going to the extent that it did here, but I don't think they would get involved in a Major League Baseball franchise if they didn't think it was going to have some level of success. Because the rest of the provinces are like, where's our team? Toronto's had one for forever. Obviously, Montreal didn't work out once upon a time. There are layers to that story. I don't think it's easy. I forget where the Expos moved when they moved out of Canada. Actually, that'd be a good question. Where did the Expos move?
Miami.
Washington, D.C. Okay, so that makes a little bit more sense. So they became the Nationals. But I think it is for lack of a better term, a ballsy investment. I think it is certainly a risk. You also bring up the point of like, are you stretching yourself too thin with, owning the team across the pond and now trying to start a Major League Baseball franchise in Canada? But again, I think whatever this ownership group is that he's a part of, they've looked at the analytics, they've looked at the numbers, they've looked at the overall growth of the sport of baseball in Canada, and I think this is a measured decision.
Well, who would get the other MLB team? Because there's 30. I imagine they want to go to 32 because if we're being honest, every American franchise wants to have the NFL magic number of 32. That's what everyone has been basically moving to. Are they then going to are they adding a team in Vancouver and then adding a team somewhere else, or are they taking a team from somewhere and then putting them in Vancouver? That's what I'm like confused on in all this. Because like the Whitecaps already exist.
No. It'd be an expansion franchise.
So then who gets the other? So then where does the other expansion team go? Because you can't have 31 teams.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming you can have 31 teams. I mean, an odd number would be weird. Because you would obviously have to add an extra team.
The other teams are Nashville. That'd be cool to have a team in Nashville, being completely honest. I think that'd be a cool one. Salt Lake City, Portland, Charlotte, and Orlando. Mexico City? I think Mexico City would be a better option than Vancouver, to be honest with you, for a baseball team.
They've been thinking about expanding into Mexico. To be honest with you, I'm a little surprised they haven't yet, because Major League Baseball wants to be North America, which, obviously Canada, the U.S., so the next step would be Mexico City. I'm not sure, to be completely honest with you. I think they could roll with third. I don't know if there's some sort of rule or guideline. Is there a rule or a guideline as it pertains to this? You have to have equal divisions
or equal conferences or whatever they're called.
So therefore, I guess I'm not sure. I mean, there hasn't really been an expansion franchise in Major League. When was the last expansion team in Major League Baseball?
But I'm just saying, like, I feel like in order for him to get a Vancouver MLB team, I mean, you've got to hope that you have to kind of have someone else show up, at least within the next year of you becoming an MLB franchise, because you're not going to have 31 MLB franchises. And I think,
Yeah, I mean, the last time they did it, they went from 28 to 30. That was the Diamondbacks and the then Devil Rays, obviously now the Tampa Bay Rays. when they started playing in 1998. So they went
Or
from 28 to 30 in the league.
or do they just relocate another team? Like, that's the only other option in order to not expand. You just relocate another team to Vancouver. But again, that's what we talked about with the MLS and everything. I fully believe that the Whitecaps will move to Vegas. I fully believe that.
Do the Athletics decide to do an about face and forget their new home in Vegas and go to Vancouver?
Just go
instead?
straight to just. They're gonna. Hey, you know what? We're gonna take an MLS franchise. You guys can have the MLB franchise. We want, and then all of a sudden Ronaldo shows up to be on the Las Vegas whatever team they're on, for the soccer franchise. But if I'm being honest, I don't think he would even, because he hasn't even voiced interest in all that stuff with the Whitecaps. It is the only reason they want to is because the fans want someone to save it and keep it in Vancouver because he's from Vancouver. But I also think at the same time that why has Wrexham grown so much is because Rob McElhenney and Ryan Reynolds they're basically getting NIL deals for the club. That's the reason why. And then you kind of think, well, there has to be a little bit of conflict of interest in this because wait, you're getting all these deals for the Wrexham team, but you're not getting deals here in the MLS, and then like vice versa. Like, I think it would just have a conflict of interest. Like, I know the Cronkies technically own, Arsenal and the Colorado Rapids, but I mean, I don't really think they care about the Colorado Rapids, to be completely honest with you. So I just don't even know if it'll work there in Vancouver. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be a bold call for sure, but
because
I
I
don't know
imagine
where.
it goes Canucks, and then Whitecaps. I imagine that's how it probably goes.
Yep, just about.
Do they have?
Just
They
about.
probably have a CFL team, probably, right?
I would imagine. I don't even know where the CFL teams are, to be completely honest with you. I mean,
They
it's
do.
Vancouver. It's the second biggest city, right, in Canada. So I think it has to.
Toronto's one.
So it has to be. Yep. But getting into this final topic, I know this is a surprise one. We didn't necessarily have this on the docket coming in. I know we got to get to question of the day here too in about 12 minutes time. But man, Ryan, this Diana Rossini, Mike Vrabel story just continues to take twists and turns that I just never really thought were possible. And listen, we're not TMZ. Like, this isn't like Celebrity News Network. Yeah, exactly. Running into people, shoving cameras in their face. I don't care. Yeah, there you go. That's more accurate. I don't really care about celebrity news. I don't normally care about what you had for breakfast or what you liked. I don't care. Okay. But when it comes to these two, what I thought was a moment in time, a snapshot from this year, and oh, hey, it turns out that we had this moment, which on its face is bad enough, especially when you talk about obviously two different married people. But this goes back years and years and years. Actually, before Diana Rossini had a son and named him Michael. You've seen the layers to what this story has become. And I know that I had mentioned the double standard as it pertained to the punishments. I not that I'm going to completely rescind that, but I understand when people are like, well, it affects her credibility, but it doesn't affect his ability to be a coach. Yes, and no. If this goes back as far as it does, and if there continues to be more layers added onto the story, which with every passing day, to be frank, I can't tell what's fake anymore and what's accurate and what's real. Like, there seems to be this line in the sand that has been completely blurred by what we see every day on social media. But even if a portion of it is true, Mike Vrabel's ability to lead a team will 100% be affected. And by the way, culture and camaraderie in a locker room matter. But then you think about the organization that he's in. He's with the Patriots. Like, he's with Robert Kraft. Like, I don't really think, unless he goes out and actually kills somebody, even then, I don't know if he would necessarily be
Patriots
out
aren't
of a
even
job.
afraid of that either.
If there's one organization that has made it, I don't know, a commonplace to employ people that have some questionable checkered past, it's either Jerry Jones or it's Robert Kraft. It's one of those two. And I feel like every major conspiracy we've ever seen in the National Football League over the course of the last decade has been tied in one way or another to the Kraft family and to the Patriots. And so, yeah, you can say that it doesn't affect his ability to be a coach, but when you're missing meetings and interviews and other things to go to therapy, you don't think that really affects his ability to be a coach. And I think it's because they realize, now obviously they've both taken a very different approach to this. Dianna Russini is more deflect and lie, whereas Mike Vrabel's like, I'm a bad guy, I'm going to go to therapy. But they're both responding to this in a way that really makes me feel like neither of them are going to be all that effective at their jobs moving forward, because this story continues to just unravel with every passing day. And I don't, the thing is like, yeah, I can laugh about some of it, but I don't know how much joy I actually take in this. I actually feel like,
it's kind of funny. There's certain things that are like,
yeah,
couple things. One, for all the people out there in the list that listen to the show, celebrities and coaches and whatever, they're not smart people. They're not always smart people. Some of them are
they put their pants on just the same way you and I do. Yeah,
they
exactly.
are kind of dumb, just like you and I. Like, especially some of them.
They just so happen to either be athletically gifted or they got a leg up somewhere along the line.
Two,
just saying.
I think Vrabel will resign at some point. I think he'll probably resign at the end of the season. I think it'll eat away at him. Russini, obviously, now everything she says, you really can't. You can't be what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know how honest she's
Trusted.
going to be. Like, what she's been able to do or what she's been doing, it's a conflict of interest. Maybe things that she said in the past may have, said certain it's going to affect her job. Like, you can't be a journalist and have like an affair with a player or a coach that you cover, because that affects your work. That's why she's getting so ridiculed. It's like a CEO having an affair with like the vice president. The vice president might make decisions of the company just based on what the CEO says. That may hurt the company. That's why this is such a big issue. But for the Vrabel side, I mean, it doesn't affect what he says in team meetings. It doesn't affect how he coaches a football team. It doesn't like that. That part of the X's and O's doesn't get hurt, and people won't be like, okay, well, he had an affair. It doesn't mean his X's and O's suck. No. What the issue is I think there will probably be a couple of reporters who are like, so, like, what's going on in your personal life and everything? And it's going to hit at him in a little bit, and especially being a family man and everything. I think Vrabel will eventually resign from his position as the head coach of the New England Patriots at some point during the season. If the Patriots get off to a very bad start, I would not be surprised where he resigns in the middle of this season. Whereas maybe they make another deep playoff run. I don't think they'll get back to a Super Bowl with everything that has happened and the schedule that they'll have to play. I think they could easily get to the playoffs. But I think after that, he will most likely resign, and the Patriots are looking for their third head coach in like 4 seasons or whatever, or 5 seasons or whatever it is. So I think you look at that, but no, I think both of this whole situation, I mean, the playlist and everything, I mean, come on. We're not even hiding it at this point, Dianna and Mike. We're just not even hiding what's going on.
People are going to think we're yelling about Ryan Reynolds over here having an affair. I didn't even realize at the bottom it still says Ryan Reynolds. But yeah, I mean, it's brutal, man. And I just living my worst nightmare, man. I mean, for the people who have been affected by this and just how deep this story goes. It also just goes to show that, right, just because they're in a position of power and they just so happen to be, in the public eye, good people, which obviously, Dianna Russini was very respected for a while. Mike Vrabel, same way, doesn't mean they don't have a dark side. Also, what I think is more alarming to me, and I think the layer of the onions that we continue to peel back, 2 things. Number one, onions. Are we completely convinced that ESPN didn't know about this the entire time?
Nate, they're based on the whole Sharon Moore situation. I think somebody knows all the time.
People know.
And I think either because, again, Michigan knew about the Sharon Moore situation, but it was probably a product of, let's see if this guy can coach. Because if he can coach, under the rug. But if he sucks, we have a get-out-of-jail-free card. Yeah. And maybe when it came to this whole situation, I mean, we don't know conversations that happened, off air or anything. Maybe Rossini could have pissed off someone we don't know about, and they're like, all right, we're airing it. I'm tired of her. Something like that. That could have happened. I'm just saying. But they absolutely know about what happens. They 100% know.
And then I think about the Titans. Now, they weren't dominating. Obviously, they
were a good team. Tannehill, A.J. Brown, Derrick Henry. They were a good team. They ended Tom Brady's New England career.
Yes, they were getting better. And so I didn't think it was, someone like Mike Vrabel. It's not like they needed to fire him. Is there a situation in which maybe he's met with the alternative of, hey, either you step down or you resign or we fire you? Like, these are the things about the story that we continue to dig into, where it's like, how many?
Bad. So I think they were like, the team kind of sucks. Again, it could have been the same thing. It's
picking at straws, but
his final year was 6, and they were kind of on the down, the downhill there. So from what they were. So I think it very well could have been a Sharon Moore example, where it's like, all right, let's see what we got. And if you're good, we'll won't say anything. But at the same time, I mean, they didn't make the playoffs the last 2 years of his time there, and they were getting worse. Tannehill was aging. Derrick Henry was on his way out. I mean, they didn't really have a quarterback. So I think that was kind of more of the issue, is they just weren't that good.
Yeah. And it's not, the thing is that's most striking about the story, and we'll get to question of the day here in a few minutes, is like, it's not hard. And I know I make my own little personal advice videos sometimes on my personal TikTok. That's kind of why I started it, just to talk to people about the industry. And one of the things that I've learned, I feel like in my still short time in it, I mean, it's been a decade since my first broadcast, but long enough to know they're not your friends. They're not your buddies. They're not the people that you go out and hang out with, right? Like, they are the people that you cover. Like, it's not hard. And so I don't care, if man, woman, doesn't make a difference to me in the world, because I've also seen men in this industry try to cut corners. So you'll be buddy with guys so that they can get insider information. Guys, it's not hard. They're like, you're not your friends. And we are at a time in society right now in 2026 where no one trusts the media to begin with. I mean, you walk into some of these clubhouses and these locker rooms, and it used to be that those conversations were free and easy, and you didn't have to worry about players being closed off. But the access to players now is far less than what it used to be, especially in a lot of professional spaces. And this is the reason why they don't trust a lot of journalists, because there are skeezy ones. There are people in the media who are just looking for a quote in order to turn around and bury the athlete they're talking to. Ain't hard, guys. It ain't hard. Ask the questions, write the pieces. Stop doing this stupid stuff that is specifically when it comes to women, putting women in tough spots because of what she did. And it does have collateral damage when you make these decisions. But it ain't hard. It is not hard.
I mean, we could say it's not hard, but at the same time, if you're someone that's really just trying to make it, they're trying to get a leg up, they're trying to get the million viewed video, I mean, people are gonna do it. I mean, that's just the reality of it all. But look, it hurts.
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell a sleazeball not to be a sleazeball. I guess you got a good point there, but
it's. What was I gonna say? You just ruined my train of thought there, Nate. Thanks, appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Here's what I got. It hurts the reputation of journalists for a while there. I mean, you could have 100 great journalists that don't lie, and the one that is Diana Rossini, and that ruins the reputation of them all. It just takes one person and one action to ruin the reputation after years and years and years of building up that reputation. And I think that, the journalist definition is very broad, and it's not what it used to be. And I think with the age of social media and the age of hot takes and the age of everything like that, I think journalists kind of have a bad rep as it is anyway. And then you add in the Joy Taylor factor.
That's the thing that sucks. Right? Like we live.
Factor. You add in Rossini. It's just making it worse and worse and worse. And
That's the industry though. Like we live in an attention industry. Like you have to be comfortable to do things that are going to generate a reaction. That's the lay of the land. Like I didn't make the rules. No one else made the rule. Like this is just the way media has gone, and it really I don't know what led to the cultural shift because it used to be like these big packages. Like remember ESPN Sports Center back in the day? Yeah, no, you're right. It is multimedia. I get it. But like at some point someone somewhere along the lines decided, hey, you know what's better than just listing the facts and reading off a piece of paper? Let's just give bold takes and let people argue in the comments or in bars or at restaurants. Like somewhere, someone along the line. And even Neil, I mean, you just heard the way he was talking. Like he was saying DCFC, the best fans in the country. Like I understand, very passionate, but to say in the country across sports, like in his experience, probably sure, but that's just the industry, man.
I mean, he's not
you know.
off, especially in the city of Detroit. He's not.
Oh, he's
off
not. No, 100%. No, he's right with that.
They're way
even
more
USL
passionate
too.
than the Instagrammers.
Yes. Oh, way more. Yeah. And that was the thing about the supporters section that we were watching, like with them not, I mean, jumping all around the entire time watching the game. It's a different level. But yeah, no, I hate it, but I love it. You know what I mean? Like I love having passionate talks with you and putting out these opinions and stuff. But at the same time, it's like, you know, it's not play-by-play and sports talk are two different things. Completely
same time,
different things.
people in the listener land and the audience do not always hear exactly what everyone's saying. Like,
yeah.
I looked at my video that, you know, or the video you made of me talking about mid players. It's got 250,000 views because they didn't take my word. They mixed my words around.
Like I cut that up.
And it's like, it's not like that. And then
video.
the USA Mexico handball one, John's not calling it. It should have been handball, but the beginning of it says it's the most quintessential handball he's ever seen, but he's not actually calling it a handball. So people take words. They don't necessarily take it for what it is sometimes.
I'm not from Boston. Okay, so stop saying I'm from Boston. And I know Boston's not Foxborough.
Two different places.
Okay, all right, I get it. All right.
Like,
that's funny.
But
that's it. That's it.
Like,
you know
there's
what I mean?
the
Like,
video of me
it.
talking about Yaxel Lindeborg being media trained. I'm like, yeah, he kind of does. But as a Michigan fan, if he needs to get into this whole state of delusion to make him play well, I'm all for it. And I said that, but everyone thought I was, wow, just don't let a player be what it is. I said, if he has to get to the state, and I never even knocked the TikToks. I'm just saying some of the certain things he says in the media, like I'm disrespected, a freshman guarded me, or what was it like to defend Cam Boozer, and he's just bashing Cam Boozer. I'm like, Cam Boozer's about to be a top 3 pick in the NBA draft. Like, you can't really bash him.
It's not called being an alarmist. It's just called doing the business. That's how it works. But anyways, let's get to question of the day.
Question of the day brought to you by Salt Athletic, an official sponsor of us here at the National Soccer Network. Use promo code NSN15 to save 15% off that #1 smell-proof clean bag that 100% works. Scan the QR code on your screen or visit saltathletic.com today. But question of the day, if you're the Hawks, do you just sell the franchise based off last night?
I mean, if I am a fan and I spent more than $20 to go see that game last night, yeah, I'm banging on their front door today and I'm demanding my money back. Well, what a pathetic showing. And I've seen a couple of people really sound off about, you know, that game in particular and how, you know, this is why the NHL playoffs are so much better than the NBA playoffs. And you know what? They ain't lying. Because I don't care what seed you're in the NHL playoffs. Like, if you're in it, and you have a chance to go win it. And
except for the Red Wings in like 2012 and 2013 and 2014.
Well, yeah.
They're cooked.
Yeah, I mean, there's exceptions to that rule, as always, you know, but no, the NHL playoffs are far more competitive, far more exciting. I know what we're seeing in terms of the Pistons and the Magic, and there have been good games in the NBA playoffs, but listen, you only get beat by 60 because you just essentially gave up. You know, I mean, it was 101-40 at one point. Like, you gave up. You completely gave up.
Regular season
you had
NBA
no
game,
interest.
to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it was like you kind of met with everybody before the game. You looked at each other and you're like, you know what? We ain't going to win an NBA championship, so may as well get this over so we can all go vacation in Mexico or wherever the hell they're going. I mean, yes. And so,
look,
pathetic,
I think
dumb. I would not spend more than $5 to watch that garbage in person.
Look,
ever.
There is a reason why I don't tune into the NBA on an every night basis. Like, if the Pistons were not good, I would not watch the NBA as much as I did this year. That's a sole fact. Because what I watched at the ending of the fourth quarter of the Pistons Magic game, what do you mean it's a foul every possession? Just because someone yells doesn't mean they got fouled. Every time Banchero, like, come on, Banchero, you're 6'9", 6'10", you're a freight train.
Yeah.
You didn't get fouled. Like, it didn't hurt that bad. Come on, dude. And then I watched, like, dude, NBA players are prima donnas sometimes. Like, it is, well, my toe hurts a little bit. My fingernail hurts. I don't want to play. I'm making $10 million a year anyway as a bench guy, but I just don't feel like playing. I got this load management or whatever it is. But in the playoffs, we're going to take a night off. In the playoffs, we're just going to, dude, we're down by 30 points. Let's just mail in at this point. Dude, Duke and UConn was down by 20 points at halftime. They came back, they clawed back, they won. Why? Because, well, A, Dan Hurley is a psychopath, but 2, they fight hard, they care all the time, and they're getting paid millions of dollars. But, oh my God, my fingernail hurts. Anthony Davis, yeah, I would much rather just do my prank TV show than play the sport that I'm paid $40 million a year to do. Like, they are such prima donnas. It annoys me. You have so many, like, sleep therapists and massage therapists and mental therapists. Like, they've got everything they want, yet they can't go out on an every night basis and give it their all. That's what pisses me off about the NBA, and that's what the majority of America gets pissed off by the NBA. The only reason the NBA gets so many damn views is I bet you a majority of it is the international fan, because, I mean, look, you look at the European leagues, they try hard night in, night out.
Yeah. I was listening to I think it was ESPN radio yesterday, and I literally had to turn it off because it was really starting to get through to me. It was getting under my skin because they were talking about in what sport is the coach or the manager the least important, have the least amount of impact, and they were like,
I bet you they said basketball.
They said baseball.
Oh, that's definitely not
and I'm
what I would
like,
guess.
You are full of what. All of you are full of
I would have said basketball.
If you even think that's relatively close. Basketball, 100%. Because what are you doing as a coach in that situation? Well, you're just sitting down, just watching the game. I mean, you're no more than just a glorified fan in this situation. I mean, college basketball, you matter. Dan Hurley's a great example. Yeah, obviously coaches are very important. The NBA,
Dusty May.
What do you do? What do you do? You know what I mean? Like
I guess
like awful coaching on TikTok. I know I send you his videos all the time. Like, I mean, I know that he's just being dramatic to get views, but like sometimes the guy's got a point.
As you being so into baseball, I mean, a team goes down 9-10 runs in like the 4th inning. You know, what are those coaches doing? Are they still coaching? Are they still playing hard? What do they do in those situations?
Yeah, I mean, you still play the pitching matchups. Now, offensively, obviously, you can make defensive switches. You have
Jake
pinch
Rogers
hitters.
pitching.
You have, you can have other things. Now, again, yeah, there are certain situations where it's like, let's just throw a guy out there just to make sure we have a warm body. But like, no, man, in playoff situations, are you kidding me? Like, no, like in the NBA, when you get into the final 2 minutes in a tie ball game as an NBA coach, I'm stepping back. I'm just like, go get it. Go get a bucket. I'm not drawing up a play with 2 minutes left in a tied game. Like, go get a bucket. You're the best
You
players
got to
on
drop a
earth.
play out of a timeout.
Out of a timeout, yes. But if the game is like flowing and like, whatever, no, I'm letting it flow, which is like, that's what the NBA is now. Like, it's like free flowing,
It's
up
pickup.
and down. It's pickup.
It's glorified pickup basketball.
Right. And so that either means the coaching has gotten worse or it's just not as stringent. And
I think it's a
someone
little
like
bit of both.
Steve Kerr, yeah, that's true. That's true. But, players win games, coaches lose them. It's a whole adage, whatever. But anyways, that'll wrap up Inside the Game for this week. Fun week, man. Couple of really good interviews here today. Joel Nash, Neil Rule. Big thanks to those guys for stopping by. Soccer season getting underway here pretty soon in the USL. Again, we're going to have those games of the week on our show. Check us out. We're back on Monday, 9 a.m. To those of you who are watching here today or have watched National Soccer Network and Sports Nation on social media. And until we talk to you guys on Monday, so long, everybody.
From the biggest matches to the hottest takes, Jonathan Turner and Nathan Wenger bring you the stories, the analysis, and the edge you won't get anywhere else. Streaming live weekdays at 9 a.m. on YouTube, Roku TV, Facebook, Twitter, and all major platforms. No filters, no fluff, just real talk, real soccer. This is Inside the Game.